So I think that is her highest teaching.
And you mentioned much of your experiences in your book, Bliss Now. Is it correct that your book is in 3 parts?
Yes. When we were creating Bliss Now, and of course, one of my dearest friends on this planet is Baba Ram Dass, who was the disciple of Neem Karoli Baba. So when he wrote his book, Be Here Now, we decided to make Bliss Now like a companion book so they could sit on the shelf together, because Maharaj Ji, Neem Karoli Baba, and Anandamayi Ma were very, very close best friends. And so my book as well is that same kind of format, where the first part of it tells the story of how I met Mother and some of the wonderful leelas that we had in India. And then the central part, Mother told me, she said, all you have to do is share my picture with people, and if you share my picture, they'll get everything. So she makes it so easy for us that I had to share these beautiful pictures. And these are from my own private collection of Mother, my favorite pictures of her. And I also enclosed next to the pictures my poetry that I wrote during the time period that I was with Mother, and shared a lot of my journal in there. So there's just beautiful pictures of Mother there and a lot of poetry. And then the final section of my book is called Pathways to Bliss. And so I have in here Bhakti Yoga, Japa Yoga, Hatha Yoga exercises, meditation, satsang, personal relationships, on having a sense of humor, even on how to create an altar in your home.
You mentioned the India as it was before, and I loved your book From India with Love, and the story and the India that you described that existed in Udaipur. It must have just been amazing. Can you speak about that?
Oh, thank you, Ariel. Yes, my latest book, From India with Love, definitely has quite a bit about the Leela that certainly went on in Udaipur. And of course, back in those days, and what the experiences I'm describing, I was traveling with my wonderful mentor Swami Shankarananda Giri. And I was also traveling with a group of young people from America that were the Americans that decided to go over in the 60s and 70s to explore India and to explore yoga and all the different forms of spirituality. So we had quite a wonderful traveling group there going on. And of course in my book I talk about Krishnavani, who was a dear friend of mine from Boston, Massachusetts. And while she was in India, she had met her man, who was Raju, and he is from South India. So she was from a very prominent family in Boston. He was from a very prominent family in South India. And the Leela that the two of them had in traveling, along with Swami Shankarananda and I. And so what they decided to do, we decided to visit her brother, who was living in Udaipur at the time. And so we have this wonderful segment in Udaipur going to Navaratri with her brother Bruce, and the beautiful home, the environment he had created, which will always be an inspiration to me. In fact, even in creating this place, I can't help but think of his home in Udaipur. And what it was like to live in Rajasthan back in those days at the Maharana, and these elephant processions through the streets, and the big camel fair in Pushkar where there'd be 15,000 camels all descending in on the town, and the wonderful dances that were occurring in the streets. In fact, in those days, the Maharana threw this big street party, and everybody would dress up in their finest clothing, and then we would go out and we would do these various stick dances in the street, and there would be a long line of girls, a long line of guys kind of going around in these, opposing circles. And he actually hung like real crystal Lalique chandeliers in the intersections of the city. So you can just imagine at nighttime these gorgeous crystal chandeliers, all these torches and fires and people dancing in the streets. It was just an amazing, colorful, rich existence that I tried to describe in From India with Love. So I'm glad you enjoyed that. Wonderful.
Can you tell us more about your mentor Swami Shankarananda Giri?
Oh, thank you. Yes. I'm glad you asked that, because a lot of people just ask me about Anandamayi Ma, but they never ask me really about Swami Shankarananda Giri. And He was absolutely a magnificent soul who was one of the highest yogis I ever had the opportunity of meeting. This is a picture of him in a very austere mood when he actually lost his weight way down through fasting, and he's demonstrating the body in a state of contraction where all of the air is out of his body. He was really my yoga mentor and taught me so much about the hatha that I teach. And then he was such a generous man. It was never all about him. He had such a sense of humility that he took me all over India in Padayatra and had me meet every other great yoga teacher of the day. So I would study directly with the Iyengars, and I studied directly, with the teacher of Bikram and the teachers of people like Sharon Gannon and David Life in New York at Jivan Mukti. I studied with Patabi Joyce and Swami Chidananda and Swami Satchidananda. And so all of these great swamis that we had there at the Yoga Vedanta Academy in Rishikesh was a great, wonderful education to have. And plus, these people were all doctors. So they were telling what kind of yoga posture that you do, and what kind of spiritual effect it has on the body, and what kind of physical effect it has on the body. So he was a magnificent person to be with, a doctor of Ayurvedics in his own right. So I started studying Ayurvedic medicine, Ayurvedic oils, all different types of Ayurvedic healing practices. And the reason why we were doing that was because in many of the villages we were living in India, they had no doctors. The only thing they had were swamis. So many of the village people, and still in South India, it's like this today, they would come to us and ask us various questions about health, or if they were having problems with any kind of flexibility, arthritis, things like that. We were learning how to deal with those problems. So yes, I learned a lot from Swami Shankarananda Giri, and I still revere him to this day. I was very happy to be there with his recent Mahasamadhi, and we did many blessings at the side of the Ganges where his body was submerged in Rishikesh. So, Swami Shankarananda Giri, thank you. Wherever you are in the universe, I know you're here, and we so appreciate the teachings that you really made come alive in me that I could share with so many young people in our yoga programs.
And Swami, I know here in the States and in Las Vegas you're very active. Could you share what your vision is for your yoga programs?
Well, yes, I've been very excited actually to come here. I came to Las Vegas 8 years ago, and my idea when I came here was that there had to be some yoga and some meditation and some downtime was really needed in this city to balance out all of the people's activities. And as we know so well from so many movies that are out there, the wild time that people kind of, when they come to Vegas, whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, they say. But I would like to say, whatever happens here in Vegas is something that you take with you wherever you go, and it lives on in your heart. And I'm certainly teaching yoga now at Mandarin Oriental hotels and also at Caesar's Palace, which is really like pioneering. They've never had yoga in these hotels before. And we also have Ayurvedic programs and all different kinds of new massage techniques in which we're helping people. And, I'm up there teaching sometimes 6 classes a day. In fact, yesterday I taught 6 classes along with private yoga sessions. So this has been really a wonderful thing to be doing with people. And I'll show you some of the things that we've been doing